Hey YouTube, I'm working on a '04 Chrysler Concorde. It's got a leaking water pump. We're going to go ahead and remove the top end of the engine and the timing cover. So far I've actually removed the upper tie bar that's held by 10mm bolts and 13. You also have your hood latch here. It's out of the way. The AC system is actually charged on this vehicle, so I was able to remove the radiator and cooling fans. Wasn't too bad. Drain the cooling system, of course. And what was a pain was it's a bracket here with an 8mm bolt that it's impossible to reach. So what I had to do was you got the fog light cover here, or fog light, and I was able to access it through here. You see the daylight there? You actually have to set up just right to get to the bolt and the bracket. This bracket that I'm talking about is this, with the bolt here that holds the power steering cooler lines, okay, to the I believe it's the condenser or radiator, either or. So you're gonna have to pretty much look for that. There's no way you can get it through here. There's absolutely no room. So I found the access through here. So now I'm getting set to remove the power steering pulley to access the bolts for the tensioning here. You can't remove the power steering pump here unless you remove the pulley first. So we're gonna remove the pulley and go from there. I'll be right back. I'm gonna set the camera. Okay, so I'm set here. You have these power steering puller. You could rent it at auto parts. You got the larger end and smaller. The smaller goes on the back of the pulley, like so. This is what it's gonna press it and pull it. Then you have the sleeve. You're set. Start sign it. Now you can feel it when you're set here, so so 13/16 or 21, either one. You can set this up with ratchet and not socket. I want to hold it so I don't drop everything. So this is what we're looking at right now. The reason why the pump doesn't come off is because you got this 13mm, or the housing, it's actually in there, I should say. So to access these bolts here, we're actually where you see exit, remove the pulley, I should say. As you can see, that'll be your stop line when you're installing it later. So right now I got a lot of work ahead of myself, so I'll set the camera up and we keep going. Okay, so now I start working on the intake here. Let me show you. We got some vacuum hoses here. They go the brake booster, and I believe it's a vacuum hose for the cruise control. Remove that. You got your PCV valve, vacuum hose. Then you got another hose there with the this is a bolt for the throttle cable that's hooked up to the throttle body. And here you have your throttle, your throttle position sensor and the idle air control valve. Disconnect that, and you got the bolts here for the intake. I believe it's like 8, and your map sensor. Disconnect that, and believe that's about it. Now on this one here, I'm going to show you is there's a bolt that's sitting here in the back that holds to the bracket on the engine, and then you got this bolt here. So I'm gonna put this away. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm working on the valve cover here. You got a bunch of 8mm bolts. You have to be careful here because it's a stud that holds this ground here. Remove that, and then you have to remove the injector wiring harness to get the harness out of the way. The way this works is these are actually pressed down, so you gotta get a very small, like a pocket screwdriver. You push it up, and then you press on the clip, and then that releases all the 6 injectors. Then you push the wiring harness back towards the firewall, out of the way or whatnot. Okay, so I still got the plug number 1 cylinder here. I'm gonna blow it out and remove the cover. Okay, so I cleaned out the head there for the plug, so I have to remove it to set piston 1, top that center. I'll show you that later. So the valve cover is pretty straightforward. Don't forget you got the bolts for the coil packs. Remove those, and should be able to. I actually got that one. I gotta remove that one. Okay, so all the bolts are loose. Okay, so don't forget you got the wiring harness in the front. You gotta remove it out of the stud. So get that out of the way, and this just comes out. So this is what we're looking at. This is the easiest side. There goes your tensioner there. Talked about that later. So basically right now I'm gonna put this back so that way we don't have just to protect this side. Now I didn't record that because it's pretty straightforward, the other side. Now this is going to be a pain. The reason is that because there's a bracket that holds the main wiring harness. It's a bolt back there, stud there, and stud here. So I got that out of the way out. I'm going to set the camera up for removal of this side, because I wanted to show you this side, because you can actually spend more time on this side here, on the left side. So I got the coils out, so I'm going to set these to the side and keep them in order. I'm going to set the camera. Okay, here we are actually going to start in the middle. I already removed, this is one of the studs I was talking about. Just be careful so you don't drop it. Put that to the side. Make sure you know. That was actually 8mm, so I gotta set up with a 10. Be careful with this one here because there's some rust buildup. Same on the other side too, so you just gotta be gentle. This is the stud for the wiring harness. Okay. So kind of working my from the center going out. Just take your time. It's not a race. Okay, this is the fun part here. You have the 8mm stud that does this whole bracket for the wiring harness. So you have to remove that stud first. This is a stud, sorry. This goes on there. It's a 10, it's 8. And then you this is what I'm working right now with the wiring harness. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So there's another bolt that's behind here. I'll be right back. Okay, this is the there we go, right there. I'm set for that 8mm bolt here. Let me see, right there. All I got is a 8mm long deep socket, I should say. Here we go. Okay, so you're set there. Now be careful, do not drop it. So okay, so we got the 8mm on the stud, and basically just raise this off. And behind here you got the other one. Okay, so gotta get that out of the way. Just push it back out of the way as much as possible. That's the 10mm stud. Okay, I'm set. You have to completely move the bracket. This metal bracket, there's one like this, identical on the other side. Right there. That right there. It's kind of hard to see, but you get the point. This wiring harness has to be completely out of the way for the valve cover to clear. Right on the corner. Okay, don't forget, all these have to be completely out.
Apuntando. ¿Y quitar toda esa cosa?
Yeah.
Ahí lo.
This is the bracket that holds here, that holds the main wiring harness, and this is that's the other side there. So I'm actually gonna put the valve cover back on, just to protect the cylinder head. I don't want no issue. So okay, here we go. We're going to talk about these timing marks. This one's going to line up with this sprocket with that mark. So this is a double link. It's gonna it's gonna line up on this side now. So I'm gonna rotate this engine a lot to line this up. I'm gonna give you an idea of what we're looking for after we remove the cover. I'm just doing this just to show what's going on. I don't like to have the cover off and turn this thing. Eventually I will do it when I get to it, but at the meantime I'm going to show you what's going on here. Rotating the engine. I did get all the spark plugs out, so as you could tell, it's going to be easier to rotate. So this is one link. One link is eventually going to line up with this dot, so don't get confused. This one, it's a single link copper. There's one more. Later on, we're going to line that up with the oil pump housing, but don't get confused. Just bear with me. It's another one. It's not the same one. I know, believe me. I just used some yellow paint marker, so we could use it as reference later when everything lines up. So right now, you have to rotate this thing a bunch. So the pistons and valves are going up and down. Valves are opening and closing. So there goes the double link chain again, but it's on the wrong side, of course. I mean, you gotta rotate this thing a lot. Sound like a broken record, but oh well. Now, this is the second link. You notice it's not marked. It's not showing the yellow paint marker that I used earlier. Now, there's two of them, so let's keep going, people. There goes the mark that eventually, after rotating this thing a lot, okay, here we go. Here comes the fun part. That is lined up. So there's your mark. We're looking for the double link chain. Okay, so that's a single one. We don't want that. Doesn't matter if this lined up. Don't pay no attention to it at the moment. Here's the double link chain. We need it on the left side. There's the double link chain. Not lined up though, so pistons are going up and down, valves are opening. There's the yellow paint link. You got the other one on this side. I mean, this thing, it's a pain in the, you know what. There's the double link. There's a link not lined up. I did put some oil on these cam lobes, so just extra precaution. There's the link not lined up. I mean, I'm getting exhausted here, people. There's the link, one double link, not lined up. So this is after rotation of I previously had lined up, and I mean, this thing is actually it's a handful. Now you notice this engine is turning pretty easy, so you know, well, obviously it's still intact. I haven't taken anything apart, so when there's an issue, this engine after the fact, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. If there's something where the piston's hitting the valve, there's no way it's gonna rotate 100 times. More like 1,000,000 times now. So these things are still not lining up, so I'm out of breath. Oh, look at that. Oh boy, there it is. Look at that there. Where's it at? Well, wait a minute, I'm getting too excited here. So there goes the link that we're looking for. Okay, now piston's coming up. Okay, all right, here we go. Piston's going down. So right now we're not quite set, because these things have to be about 12 o'clock. These things about, say, 90 degrees, so I'm almost there. So piston's going down, so I I bet this link is lined up, the double link is lined up there, and I still got my timing cover that will line up when I take the timing cover off, and then you can confirm when it lines up to the oil pump housing. So hopefully this helps here. I managed to actually line up the links with the sprockets on the cam, and we're going to turn it about 60 degrees to line up with the oil housing. I repeat it now. So this is what it's going to look like after we take off the timing cover. This is what we have to do. Okay, so I will probably say 60 degrees after piston is at top dead center. Okay, so exhaust valves are both closed. The cam lobe is past the exhaust valve, so alright, don't get too confused. Pretty much we're right here like 98% timing, people. I mean, this thing took like a bunch of turns to get everything lined up. I think I've been out here for like 5 minutes. So this is what we want to accomplish. You notice this is not the painted link mark that I made for reference with the yellow paint marker. It's going to line up down there. Oops, down there with the with the oil pump housing. So I would probably say piston's going down, you're right there. I'll probably say so. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. All right, so we're almost there. So use that mark there for line up all 3 links. So this is the quarter links. Okay, gold plated, I should say, and that's gonna look right now after I remove the timing cover. So let's get at it. We got the cooling temp sense. This is a great idea by Chrysler, and then another genius idea also by Chrysler. Okay, need my 2 hands here. Okay, right now I'm setting up to remove the harmonic balancer bolt. It's 13/16. So if you have a air compressor with the stubby impact gun, you can fit it here. Probably mine regular. Look at that, got a problem. Now you wouldn't have this problem if the condenser was out of the way, because that gives you enough room. So that doesn't kind of matter in our case because we don't. So usually if the air was discharged out of the system at a shop, or if this vehicle didn't have any refrigerant, you would have to remove that bolt. But with all the corrosion on thing, I think in this case probably break. Bet $100 this thing would definitely break on here. So I am set to do it with the condenser in place, 13/16, and got a 3/8 extension with a breaker bar. I would prefer a breaker bar, so not a ratchet, so that way it locks in place. And here we go.